Hi, I'm Janice Switlow, and today my attention's been drawn to look at the word reconciliation again. I mean, we're all sick of it, to be honest. And I've spoken before about how reconciliation is a synonym for assimilation. You look at the source of it; it's often used in Roman Catholic. The ritual of reconciliation, which used to be a confession, sacrament of confession, and it's about coming into and becoming one. But here's a different take or something to add or to think about when you're looking at this reconciliation, which is how all of these federal initiatives and provincial initiatives are being marketed, if you will. It's all about reconciliation and everything's all nice and dandy, and that's what it's all about. I want you to really think about, what is this reconciliation? Where is it happening? And then what brought it to mind was, again, I was reading this biography on Thomas Jefferson. And going back at the time just before the American Revolution, and I hope you're not getting sick of this, but there's some illustrations that help me convey certain concepts to you. And that is, he was speaking about a particular lawyer who were in a group of people who were, quote, more open to talk of reconciliation with London. And that made me to think, okay, wait a minute, what reconciliation is happening there? So there were, controversies and conflicts between Britain and British America. Ultimately, talks didn't work out. It moved on to revolution and war. Excuse me. Let's look at the Canadian example. This is not a discussion of reconciliation with the Crown. There would be no need for that discussion because the Crown has treaties. And those treaties have no exit provisions. And if you recall, Canada is not a successor state, so those treaties remain binding on Her Majesty's governments of Canada. This is actually a reconciliation exercise with Canada, consistent with representations in these framework processes, in agreements, consistent with saying, we've always been part of Canada. We have come under the Constitution of Canada. Notwithstanding, the only area where Indian nations, Indian tribes, etc., were referenced, constitutional document, the Constitution Act 1867, it speaks of which level of Her Majesty's governments, provincial or federal, are responsible for the diplomacy with Indigenous nations. And that falls to the federal government under that constitutional act. We are we're recreating history here. We're rewriting history. And any time a country purports to do that, we really, you need to really look at why. And so this reconciliation that everyone likes to celebrate, I want to repeat, it is not with the Crown. It is with Her Majesty's governments only. It's a completely different exercise. If we were speaking about, as has been spoken in certain nations, polishing the covenant chain, cleaning up the relationships. This is all about creating something different and new. There's nothing wrong with what's already in place. The only problem is that Canadian governments do not wish to comply and want something different. Remember, Canada got everything it could in terms of the delegation of self-government from Her Majesty, from the Crown. The only thing left that Canada wants, the only thing left is what can be had from the Indigenous nations. Because remember, their interests are above that of the Crown. So that's what we're looking at, this reconciliation with Her Majesty's governments. Not with Her Majesty, it's not necessary. These framework agreements with the Canadian government and the provincial government. These are representing that not only do we not have to worry about becoming one, we've always been one. That's not the legal reality in this part of the world. And that's all I have to say.